Yo, what's up guys? Terrell here from Terrell Game Vlogs, and I'm here to give you my year one first impressions of Neon Alley. Follow the Raven. What was that, a little lame? I'm sorry. Well, fuck you. I was trying to be clever. Bull. Anyways. So, what I'm pretty much going to cover is the shows that I've watched within the first year of Neon Alley existing. Which companies they're from, and then my overall view of the service itself. Now, I believe the service, off the top of my head, is somewhere between $6 and $8. I'm not sure. I want to say it's like $7 or $8 a month, which is about the same you would pay for like Netflix or like Hulu Plus probably. So in terms of pricing, there was never really an issue. Now, when it first started, you were forced to use only the PS3. And then I think later, it was like the PS3 and Xbox 360 was the only way you could watch it originally. Like, it was originally just set up on game consoles, which I initially thought was meh. I mean, granted, it gave me a reason to turn on my PS3, but it was not the most beneficial system. Now, for those who are worrying, since then, you can now use, I know you can use your computer, which to me, I'm saying hands down is the best way to watch Neon Alley. Have that shit running on your computer, particularly because PS3 and Xbox have, well, I know my PS3, I don't know about Xbox specifically, PS3 has a lot of random drop times in which, like, I'll watch an episode and either the viewership would be too high or something, and my shit would just kind of freeze and drop out. And that happened to me multiple times, which is why usually when a show was supposed to premiere on a Friday night, I would end up just waiting until it re-aired again later on that night, because for some reason it just used to drop like a bitch. It was ridiculous. So in terms of the service itself, it's vastly improved. I rarely, and I mean this, I rarely have that problem on using the Neon Alley website to watch the stuff on anyway. They also have the full schedule and list of shows that are coming on each day, each week. It's kind of like, as I said, it's like an online Toonami in a sense, just with a different variety of shows. They also have the catch-up feature, which is awesome. It means, I believe it's like the last 4 episodes from a series you may have missed. You can go back and rewatch those, and that way, that's the episode 5 of Blue Exorcist dub is coming out. They usually have like the first 4 episodes already up. It's always like a 4-episode cushion, I guess is what you can call it. So it always works out. Now, granted, depending on how far back you are, it really just depends. But that's usually how it is. It's like if episode 6 comes out, they probably knock off episode 1 from the catch-up, and it kind of loops like that. Now, because they show reruns so goddamn much, it's not that hard. And they also do the whole marathon things, which work out for people who can't necessarily catch it on time, or the catch-up isn't in the episode numbers that they need. So, that's beneficial. And they have that for every show that they've aired. Every show. Which is always awesome. I guess I should now talk about the list of shows and the shows that I personally have watched. So I believe starting from the beginning, it was Inuyasha Final Act, it was Tiger and Bunny, it was Neuroraza Yokai Clan, Lagrange, One Piece, Revolutionary Girl Utena, which I believe is airing now, Madoka Magica, Fate Zero, Blue Exorcist dub, Magi dub, give me a second, because I'm trying to go through the entire year of shit. It was pretty decent list. Most of it's Viz and Aniplex stuff, with like One Piece being, I think, the only Funimation title, and they just recently put Kids on the Slope on there, which is the only Sentai Filmworks title I can think of off the top of my head. Like, most of the stuff was grabbing from the Viz and Aniplex library. Also, they did have, obviously, Naruto Shippuden. That the newest episodes, meaning the episodes of Naruto Shippuden were actually further along than the DVD releases were for it. Bleach, I believe they just started Bleach from the beginning. Like, they started One Piece from the beginning. So Naruto is the only one that's up to date, which I guess makes sense considering Toonami just got Shippuden put back on from the beginning, so I guess that balances out. I'm trying to think of anything else off the top of my head. It wasn't too much like See, the thing is, it wasn't really a lot of new stuff. More so, it was maybe new dub stuff, which really was only really coming from vids, because everything. I mean, granted, we did get new dubs in terms of the form of Blue Exorcist and Magic, for example, and even Fate Zero, because up until Neon Alley, they were only available in sub only, and then Aniplex was like, we're releasing dubs for them, and you can watch them on Aniplex. Which kind of gets into the next point I want to talk about. I feel like if you were a fan of all the Aniplex anime, you should get Neon Alley just purely off of that fact. Why? Because most people can't afford to get all of Aniplex's anime when it releases. And I feel like if you wanted to watch Madoka Magica in English, or if you wanted to watch Blue Exorcist in English, or you wanted to watch Magi in English, or you wanted to watch, I feel like I'm missing one. Magi, Blue Exorcist, Fate Zero, Madoka Magica. Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was the main four. Then I would get Neon Alley. Also, if you wanted to see what new dubs Viz was doing. I mean, granted, out of the entire cast of dubs they've released on there, the only ones I've actually bought to pick up is Tiger and Money, particularly because Lagrange, personally, just not, which I guess is the other reason. If you want to try out new Viz dubs, Neon Alley is also the way to go. So if you wanted to try out Tiger and Bunny, or K, or Inuyasha Final Act, which I don't think anyone needs to try that out, more or less, because it's like, if you like Inuyasha, the Final Act almost has the same type of fucking cast, and you know the story of it already. But let's just say you've never watched Inuyasha in your life before. You can try it out. They also had the original Inuyasha series on there, the new Naruto Shippuden episode, so if you were excited to hear those dubbed, that's another incentive. If you wanted to rewatch Bleach from the beginning, that was cool. That's kind of the appeal of Neon Alley, that it ended up airing premieres of shows in English as its primary function, which then brings up the question, well, are there any sub-only things? Not really. Also, if you wanted to watch Ranma 1/2, that's on there too. I completely forgot about it, especially with the whole Blu-ray release they're releasing, I think, in the next few months, so I guess that's another anime that you could throw in there. Now, if I had to get into the problems I particularly have regarding Neon Alley in terms of, first there's two problems. First off, dubs and show selection. Now dubs, what I mean by this, I'm not saying, oh yeah, Excel World, that was the other show I was missing. Excel World's on there too. Sorry, it was one of those split moment things. But in terms of dub selection in the show selection isn't necessarily bad, but I think if anything, most people would rather see more of either Sentai or more of Funimation. Now, my idea is that you're probably not going to see that much of either, and particularly the reason why is because both of those dubbing companies have their own sites, which they do the same kind of thing. Funimation has that elite video subscription service, which essentially is you going onto their site, paying for a subscription, and getting access to all their anime anytime you fucking want. So it's like, why would Funimation release that stuff on Neon Alley unless you just wanted the extra promotion, which I guess would be cool. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm assuming One Piece is on there. But One Piece is the only Funimation show on there. Kids on the Slope is the only Sentai Filmworks show on there. Particularly, that is now just recently, that was recently thrown on like a few weeks ago, actually. I think that's probably the first problem I have, is that the selection is so limited to Viz and Aniplex. And that goes into the secondary problem, but the first problem is, one, Viz hasn't licensed that much new stuff. The only two other shows I believe we know of that are coming from that Viz is licensed already is Blood Lad, and I think they've known three. Copelion, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce the anime, which recently just finished airing, I think. Blood Lad, which isn't that old, and Swensei no Gargantua, which is another relatively new show. Meaning, I don't expect these shows on there until maybe like near the end of the year. But that's only 3 shows. Viz doesn't grab anime like that to really have a big ass catalog. Most of the shows they showing are like older shows, or shows that like nobody has seen before because of how old they are. Like, for example, Ranma. If I had any suggestions, I'm like, Viz, there are a few other shows that you have not released. And I understand why, which is partially because, I'm assuming because you didn't finish dubbing some of these shows, but I feel like you should at least be able to show the dub episodes, and people should already know what I'm about to say. I was gonna say, for instance, Tennis. I was gonna say Zatch Bell. I was gonna say Mare. Because Mary, I think you got at least a good 50-something episodes into. Zatch Bell, you got over 100 into. Especially because the Americans, we didn't get to see all the episodes because Toonami stopped showing it like somewhere around the 70s or 80s, and you had dubbed at least a good 20 or 30 more episodes after that. Hikaru no Go. There wasn't that many. That's the other problem. Like, and then as far as the Aniplex problem is, I don't have any problems with Aniplex shows being on there or the dubs, because I feel like that's a good way to get people introduced to shows that Aniplex licenses, but they can't necessarily afford to pay for, which is cool. The problem I have is that because Viz seems to have, like, at least for the newer dubs, seem to grab from almost the same kind of pool of voice actors as Aniplex, there are a lot of instances in which you're watching a Viz dub and an Aniplex dub, like, back to back. For example, let's say you're watching something like Excel World right next to fucking Magi or Blue Exorcist or something, and you're hearing almost the exact same voice actors in just different roles, which is really fucking annoying because it just becomes really jarring. Like, you can't enjoy the dub as much when you're hearing voices back to back, which is why most people just take breaks and, like, rewatch certain shows later, because no one wants to hear the same voice 6 times in the course of one night. It's like, oh look, Vic Mignogna's in like 4 fucking dubs, and they're like all back to back with each other. Johnny Youngbot, same thing, or Todd Peppercorn, same thing. Just, you don't want to keep seeing the same voices, and yeah, I know most of those are known as Funimation voices, but they're more like, I believe it has something to do with where they're placed, whether they're union or non-union, I think is what it is. That is what determines which kind of roles they get. But, like, you end up hearing a lot of the same voices multiple times, and you just be like, oh my god, can we get some new voices in here? It's like I think one of the few voices you don't hear that often is like Bryce Papenbrook, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I hear him in Blue Exorcist, but I don't hear him barely anywhere else. And if I do, he's playing such a minor role that doesn't bother me as much. And it's not like their voice acting is bad for their dubs. It's just that it's jarring to go from one, like, oh, we're watching Tiger and Bunny, and then we're watching Lagrange, and then you end up hearing, like, similar voices in both dubs, and you're like, oh my god, stop. like it's jarring. Actually, that was the biggest problem I have with Excel World and Magi right now, is that Excel World's main character and Magi's main character have the same voice. And it's like, oh god. On top of if you like the voice or not for the character, it's kind of jarring. Also, Zetman, that was another show I forgot. It's just, that's the biggest, I think, to me, the 2 biggest things they need to work on is getting more shows from different companies. I swear to God, if you put some Funimation releases on there, like some newer ones, like Haganai, or, I think I had Haganai on the brain, or Sakura I can't pronounce it. Michiko and Hachin, which I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that, or even something like old school stuff, like the old school. I think Funimation just recently got the license to Ava. Eureka 7. Put that on there. Just give us a sense of variety, because when you keep watching the dubs from the same 2 companies, and because they do share voice actors half the time, like, you end up hearing a lot of voice actors from Viz and Aniplex in terms of dubs, it gets redundant. So it's like, okay, fine, you have Sentai Filmworks Kids on the Slope on there. Maybe throw up something like, I think they're dubbing a lot of new shows like like MM, I think they're dubbing that, or Neon Koi, or The World God Only Knows, or fucking Clonad or something. Just mix up the variety in terms of dubs, because they're dub anime, and it's not like in Japan where it's like they have a big ass pool of people to grab from, or at least or the voices just sound so similar that you can't tell. In English, it's really obvious who's playing who in most roles. So it's like, don't just I don't want to just keep hearing Viz and Aniplex dubs by themselves, especially when it's the same fucking voices in a lot of them. So if I had to say anything in terms of I think it's fine. I think it was improved a lot. in terms of shows and the way it's going about things. As I say, it's throwing out new dubs that we've never heard before, and dubs that are not yet on DVD and Blu-ray, meaning if you like the anime enough when watching it, you're more willing and more likely to get the DVD Blu-ray when it comes out, which is what I like. But you could also be cross-promoting for Funimation and Sentai. And granted, it's not like they don't show Funimation trailers or Sentai trailers. I'm just saying, throwing a few more shows on there. It doesn't even have to be high. You know, as I say, it doesn't have to be new releases. Just shows. Shows that people may have not have seen because there's so much anime and so little time. So that's just my thoughts on it. Overall, I think the first show was pretty good. I mean, some slight tweaks need to be made in terms of the show selection and from which companies. In terms of the interface, I don't have that much of a problem. I understand why you won't ever do the catch-up like full on the entire series, because that would make people just want to pirate it off of that, even though that would be kind of redundant in retrospect. But, you know, because of dub premieres, that may be the reason why they're ripping it and shit. But overall, I have that. Those are the only two problems I have, was just the show selection and the dub selection. That's all I had my issues with. Because most of the shows have been pretty varied. I mean, you went from like fucking Excel World to like something like Magi or Blue Exorcist to something like Madoka Magica. Like, I think the show variety is there, just more so the companies you're pulling it from. So the voices don't get too jarring for too damn long. Also, Gurren Lagann's on there too. I'm just remembering all these shows while talking. Anyways, that's my personal thoughts and opinions. Please tell me if you have any on alley, what do you think of it? And if you don't, are you willing to get it? Because I would suggest it to people who can't really afford to buy new dub anime, but you want to watch new dub anime. And it's like a good legal way of supporting the industry and being able to watch the shows for the same price you pay for Netflix. So, yeah. Anyways, as long as again for your boy Terrell, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.